Tonight, Mark Carney stands by a controversial Liberal candidate running here in the crucial Greater Toronto area.
He's made a terrible lapse in judgment. He's made an apology for that.
The Liberal candidate called for a Conservative rival to be turned over to China for a bounty.
That is chilling to hear.
It teaches us that Mark Carney will never stand up for Canada.
As the campaign kicks off week 2, we're in battleground Brampton with a big question for voters.
What do you want the next Prime Minister to know about your life?
Gee whiz, we're all broke.
Our latest stop as the National crosses Canada to hear from you. The staggering damage from Ontario's ice storm.
Banging everywhere. It's almost like a tornado hit.
Trees topple under centimeters of ice, severing power lines. Tens of thousands are still in the dark. And NASA astronauts speak out after 9 unexpected months in space.
We had a plan, right? The plan went way off.
Who they blame and why they'd fly on the Boeing Starliner again.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault in Brampton, Ontario.
Thanks for joining us. We're just outside City Hall here in Brampton, northwest of Toronto, one of Canada's fastest growing cities in an area with huge sway in selecting Canada's next government. The Greater Toronto area is a battleground with the election exactly 4 weeks away. And Mark Carney now faces some sharp questions about a Liberal candidate in the GTA. Paul Chiang suggested a Conservative candidate targeted by Chinese authorities for his pro-democracy activism should be handed over to Beijing. At an event in Vaughan, just east of here, the Liberal leader denounced Chiang's comment as deeply offensive. And breaking tonight, the RCMP says it's now looking into those comments. But as Ashley Burke shows us, despite widespread outrage, Mark Carney is standing by his candidate.
Mark Carney in the Toronto area defending his decision to keep a candidate in the race while facing mounting calls to kick him out.
Mr. Chiang has apologized for his comments. It's a lapse of judgment.
Liberal candidate Paul Chiang called his own comments deplorable after news broke that he suggested people could hand a Conservative rival over to the Chinese consulate to cash in on a bounty offered by police in Hong Kong.
Mr. Chiang is a veteran policeman with more than a quarter century of service to his community. 28 years of defending rights in this community, and he will continue with his candidacy. I view this as a teachable moment.
It is a teachable moment. It teaches us that Mark Carney will never stand up for Canada.
Authorities in Hong Kong released an arrest warrant in December for Conservative candidate Joe Tay, with a reward worth about $180,000. A move the Liberal government denounced last year as an attempt to intimidate critics abroad. The Conservatives say Tay is afraid for his life.
I have never in my life seen a Prime Minister unwilling to protect a Canadian citizen against a foreign government that wants to take his life through a bounty.
He's putting his party ahead of his country in that case. I think that's wrong.
It's absolutely disappointing and appalling.
Gloria Fung says she's received anonymous calls, threats, and warnings for speaking out against Beijing, and says Carney's decision sends a dangerous message.
That they could continue with their high-yield, low-cost, transnational repression and foreign interference in Canada without any consequence.
In Chiang's riding in Markham, Ontario, there's division over whether he should stay in the race.
I think it's just all overblown. He's been a great MP for the riding. I didn't vote for him in the last election, but I'm probably going to vote for him in this election.
I agree with the movement that he should be taken off the ticket.
There are now more than 40 organizations calling on Carney to change his mind and drop Chiang, and there are calls for the RCMP to investigate Chiang's comments.
And actually, I gather there's some breaking news on that front tonight.
There is, Adrian. The RCMP confirms to CBC News tonight that it is looking into the matter and whether Chiang broke the law, but will not say anything more other than it takes allegations of foreign interference and transnational repression seriously. Adrian? All
right, Ashley Burke in Ottawa. Now, Mark Carney made those comments today as he revealed the Liberals' plan to tackle the national housing crisis. This is a crucial issue for Canadians. The other parties are seizing on it too. Marina von Stackelberg takes us through the proposals.
In an election during a nationwide housing crisis, the Liberals have unveiled their plan to fix it.
We are going to build our way out of it.
Mark Carney's policy would make Ottawa directly involved in building homes. He'd create a new federal body that would act like a developer. It would place bulk orders on pre-built and modular housing and hand out $25 billion in loans to get new projects off the ground.
We will build at a pace not seen since the Second World War.
The Liberals also promised to give first-time homebuyers a tax break. They'd remove the GST from new homes under $1 million.
We will axe the federal sales tax on new homes.
It's a pitch Pierre Poilievre already made last fall, except the Conservatives say they'd give a GST cut to anyone buying a new home under $1.3 million.
We will not forget that young 36-year-old couple whose biological clock is running out faster than they can afford to buy a home and have kids.
This housing expert says the proposed GST cut won't help the majority of Canadians most in need of a home because they can't afford to buy a new one.
I'd say the GST proposal sort of plays to a myth that we can somehow get affordable home ownership simply or easily. We can't.
Instead, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh promises to ban large corporations from buying up low-income housing units. He says the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation should offer low-interest mortgages.
This is one piece of the solution to keep the dream of home ownership alive, to give people access to a low-interest loan.
I've made it work. It's cozy.
Chris Gazzola would like to move out of his apartment and buy his first home.
It's just not in the cards financially. A few friends who just said, I've given up on that idea.
That frustration that many Canadians have, that the home they want is just out of reach, is something that all the parties are trying to tap into in this election. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now let's look now at the other main party leaders fanning out across the country, and we start tonight out west.
I'm Janice McGregor covering the NDP. In BC's capital, Jagmeet Singh laid out his climate platform, saying he'd eliminate the $1.8 billion in subsidies that flow to oil and gas companies each year and use that money instead to help low-income households make their homes more energy efficient. But the NDP now agrees with scrapping the federal consumer carbon tax. And Singh's visit to Victoria coincided with an emergency debate in BC's legislature to scrap its provincial carbon price. Singh's moved on to Edmonton now, hoping to play offense in a seat previously won by a Liberal, while still needing to play defense in 2 seats previously won by New Democrats.
I'm Evan Dyer covering the Conservatives. Pierre Poilievre chose St. John, the city the Canadian Chamber of Commerce has described as the most exposed to American tariffs, to make an announcement he said would allow Canada to reduce its dependency on U.S. markets. He promised a national energy corridor, fast-tracking approvals for pipelines that would carry Canadian oil and gas to coastal terminals like the one in St. John. Poilievre said this would allow Canada to lessen its dependence on the U.S., currently the buyer of most of Canada's oil and almost all of its gas. But he provided few details on how he would secure agreements from the provinces and First Nations along that route, something which has bedeviled pipeline proponents to the east in the past.
Underscoring that issue of provincial support, Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet called an east-west pipeline through Quebec a fantasy.
Thousands of dollars per person in Quebec and in Canada for a project which has no meaning and no future, whatever they say. There's nothing serious in that project but the fantasy of gaining votes.
Blanchet made the comments while visiting a factory in eastern Quebec where he announced a policy to boost investment in public transportation. Gas prices are expected to drop tomorrow in most of the country with the removal of the consumer carbon tax.
It was important for us to recognize that we needed to act quickly.
As you heard earlier from Janice McGregor, BC pushed through legislation to eliminate its own provincial charge on April the 1st, the same day the federal tax is removed in most other jurisdictions. Prices could drop by about 17 cents per litre, but experts warn other factors may lead to varied results. Quebec and the Northwest Territories are not affected. Some 300,000 customers are still without power in Ontario tonight after a weekend ice storm slammed parts of central and eastern Ontario.
As you can see, I had my tree split right in half. It came obviously down onto my car and onto my home.
Thick layers of ice bringing down trees and power lines across wide swaths of the province. Several municipalities declaring states of emergency to deal with a massive cleanup. And that list includes cities like Orillia and Peterborough. The powerful storm cut a wide path, bringing damage to communities around Lake Simcoe and further east to Kingston. Jamie Strachan is in the hard-hit city of Barrie, north of Toronto tonight, where the cleanup is really just getting started.
All around Barrie, Ontario, the sound of chainsaws fill the air.
Saturday night, we were going to bed around 11:30. As we got up, we kind of heard a little cracking sound, at which point we watched this part here collapse on my car.
Fallen branches everywhere, limbs and entire trees brought down by thick ice, smashed car windows, hydro lines ripped from roofs.
It was kind of sounding like gunshots going off a bunch of times. You kept hearing more and more, and we saw some transformers blow at 2 to 3 in the morning.
More than 800,000 customers at some point lost power. Hundreds of thousands are still in the dark, and it could take days to restore. In Barrie, traffic lights out, long lines for gas to fuel thirsty generators.
Yeah, we got lucky on where it landed, that's for sure.
In Jason Palmer's backyard, a massive tree narrowly missing his garage, landing inches from his house.
There was a freezing rain warning, and we knew that it was a possibility, but we didn't realize it was going to be to this level.
Freezing rain happens this time of year, but this storm was slow moving.
What is unusual is the duration of the freezing rain that we saw with this storm. Now, normally freezing rain is very transitory.
That lingering freezing rain coating a massive swath of eastern Ontario. Some areas saw as much as 3 centimeters of ice. In nearby Orillia, the storm has paralyzed the city.
Could be certainly in the week before everyone has power. And then there's the rebuild after that.
Further east in Peterborough, the damage is extensive.
We were in the house while the tree came down. I was upstairs, my wife was downstairs. You heard it. It shook the house when it hit the house and slid off the roof. I knew it was sitting on the car before I even walked outside.
And the nasty weather that hit this region, Adrian, has since headed east through Quebec, through the Maritimes, set to hit Newfoundland this evening.
Jamie, what's your sense of why it's taking so long to restore power?
Well, you look behind me, you see these branches here on the ground. There's thousands of piles across Barrie like that. In a lot of cases, the wires were ripped directly from the house. Hydro officials saying that it was originally going to be today, now saying it could be as long as a week.
Oh, it's a long time. All right, Jamie Strachan in Barrie, Ontario tonight. Thank you. Desperation is growing to find survivors from Friday's massive earthquake in Myanmar. More than 2,000 people are dead in a country where humanitarian aid was already in short supply. Salima Shivji is in neighboring Thailand tonight, where rescue crews are working against the clock.
Days after the devastating earthquake, patients languish and wait for treatment outside this hospital, close to the epicenter, clinging to life after the powerful earthquake crushed so much in their country. Hospitals are overwhelmed, with many severely damaged, the World Health Organization says. The devastation in central Myanmar is beyond comprehension, the smell of dead bodies permeating the air. At this mosque, prayers for Eid, the end of the holy month of Ramadan, are also outside after the structure was heavily damaged. I'm so sad. My son was very excited for Eid, but now he's gone, this mother cries. Fatally injured when the mosque's walls collapsed on him. Myanmar has announced a national week of mourning, but it will be weeks before the damage is fully known in a country that's already grappling with a humanitarian crisis in the midst of a civil war.
but they faced a devastating violent conflict, previous natural disasters. So this is just another major emergency that children have had to endure over and over again. It's a brutal assault on children, and we need to step up now.
In Bangkok, more than 1,000 kilometers from the epicenter, cranes and excavators continue their work to find more than 70 people still trapped under this debris. Families of the missing wait anxiously in tent shelters, still hoping for a miracle, even as bodies are carried out.
The operation is ongoing here, even if the crucial rescue window of 72 hours after an earthquake that gives you a higher chance of finding survivors is now closed. Rescue workers are straining to hear any signs of life, however weak.
This is your brother? Hope isn't changing May Zin's resolve, a Burmese national working in Thailand who's here every day, desperate for any information about her younger brother, who is working on the 24th floor of the collapsed building. Every time a body is found, she says, we rush to check if it's my baby brother. We need to know. Even if it's terrible news of loss in the worst earthquake this region has seen in a century. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Bangkok.
Donald Trump raising eyebrows again tonight as the world braces for a blitz of tariffs on Wednesday. Every word he utters is scoured for hints of how bad things will be. Paul Hunter shows us why interpretation is tricky.
And I think it's going to be something that's going to bring a lot of wealth back to our country, tremendous wealth back to our country, actually.
With Canada and the world bracing for whatever Donald Trump's next long-promised tariffs will bring, a hint from the U.S. president about the details coming in 2 days' time or less.
We're going to be very nice. Relatively speaking, we're going to be very kind.
There's no doubt the tariffs will sting, but what his hint at kindness might mean for Canada's car industry, already targeted, or any of the other makers, builders, and farmers who might be affected worldwide remains a mystery. Trump insists his steps will create jobs in the U.S., but economists expect broad pain and higher prices effectively everywhere.
You can't overrule the laws of economics with an executive order any more than you can overrule the laws of gravity.
This Democratic congressman from New Jersey now introducing a bill aimed at analyzing the tariffs.
To require the president to submit a clear strategy to Congress to justify imposing tariffs for emergency purposes.
And if that's not enough to chew on, Americans now wondering about something else. Might Trump run for a third term, despite the U.S. Constitution prohibiting that?
People are asking me to run, and there's a whole story about running for a third term. I don't know. I never looked into it. They do say there's a way you can do it, but I don't know about that, but I have not looked into it.
Put to Trump then, what about this? What if former President Barack Obama also tried for a third term as Trump's opponent?
I'd love that. His third term. Boy, I'd love that. That would be a good one. I'd like that.
Realistic? Say most, not really. Then again, most would not have expected Trump to be so quickly threatening tariffs worldwide, even with that hint at kindness. A word, says Trump, by the way, he rarely hears about himself. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
With the threat of those new U.S. tariffs looming, concerns are growing for a beloved Canadian industry.
My biggest fear in all of this is that we might lose track of the fact that we're neighbors and we're friends.
How tariffs could affect maple syrup farmers on both sides of the border. Plus, what it's like to be home after 9 surprise months on the International Space Station.
Feeling good. I actually went out and ran 3 miles yesterday, so I will give myself a little pat on the back.
And the unexpected donation from a Toronto Raptor that helped save an Ontario school.
And it was unbelievable and surreal, absolute relief, because I can go back and tell the parents that we hit our goal, we're okay.
We're back in 2. We're at City Hall in the heart of Brampton, Ontario, about an hour west of Toronto, known as the Flower City. Brampton's rapid growth and diversity makes it a key target for the major parties. How people here vote could help determine which party forms Canada's next government. And the next government will have to immediately get to work on the incoming U.S. tariffs. In Quebec, maple syrup producers are getting increasingly worried. Vanessa Lee shows us how tariffs could seriously harm Canada's most iconic export.
Maple sap has been flowing from trees at Hall Acres Farm since the 1860s.
This is product and we're going to push it through the filter press.
David Hall is a fifth-generation maple syrup producer.
And we only produce 20 to 25 days a year.
Livelihoods largely dependent on weather are now tapped into even more uncertainty. A 25% across-the-board tariff on Canadian imports is set to take effect in days. Last year, $450 million worth of maple syrup was sent to the U.S. That's 62% of Quebec's maple exports.
Are people going to stop buying syrup in the U.S.? Probably not. Will they buy less? Probably. We're going to have meetings with the buyers and see what we can do. But, you know, to say that the producers were going to get 25% less, none of us would be in business.
Across the Quebec border, Vermont is the top producer of maple syrup in the U.S. The markets are highly interconnected. American farmers rely on supplies and equipment made in Canada.
It's crucial because they manufacture just about everything that we use, from our pipeline to gather the syrup to the tanks that we store it in.
Vermont's Maple Sugar Makers Association worries all of the tariff uncertainty could lead to price hikes and shortages on American shelves, stalling growth in the industry.
Vermont and the U.S. don't make enough maple syrup to fulfill the needs of our domestic market. So it's important to the value of the U.S. industry that we have an adequate and appropriately priced supply of Canadian syrup.
My biggest fear in all of this is that we might lose track of the fact that we're neighbors and we're friends.
It takes decades for maple trees to grow big enough to tap, making it impossible to replace Canada's famous export overnight, as farmers on both sides of the border set their focus on production over politics. Vanessa Lee, CBC News, Brome Lake, Quebec.
Air Canada says its flights to the U.S. are down amid tariff uncertainty. At its annual general meeting, the company's chairperson said he's concerned flights to and from the U.S. are down 10% compared to this time last year. But he did say demand seems to be shifting to destinations in Europe. Well, 2 NASA astronauts are telling their stories after their 8-day mission turned into 9 months on the International Space Station.
So blame, that's a term, I don't like that term, but certainly there's responsibility throughout all the programs.
What the prolonged mission was like and what went wrong. Hi. Plus, with 4 weeks until Election Day, we're on the ground speaking with people in the vote-rich Greater Toronto area.
Oh, what do you want the next Prime Minister to know about your life right now?
What do I want him to know about my life? Gee whiz, we're all broke, I guess.
The main problem right now is the immigration. It's too much.
The National breaks down the story shaping our world. Next. There are reports tonight Rogers will renew its TV rights to broadcast NHL games in Canada for another 12 years. The company is reportedly paying more than $11 billion. Rogers paid less than half that amount in 2013. Back then, it signed on for a 12-year contract to air games, and that deal is set to expire next season. Well, tonight, for the first time, we're hearing from 2 U.S. astronauts whose days-long mission turned into 9 months aboard the International Space Station. As Nicole Mortellaro shows us, they touched on who's to blame for the botched mission that stranded them.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
After an unexpected 9-month stay on the International Space Station, NASA astronaut Sunny Williams and Butch Wilmore are speaking out about their time on the orbiting laboratory, separated from friends and family.
I wanted to hug my husband and hug my dogs, and I'll say that in that order. But maybe not. No, I'm just joking.
I would say it was difficult. It wasn't in the preparation, but in my family, we talk about these possibilities.
Their test flight of Boeing's new Starliner capsule launched in June, planned as an 8-day mission. But trouble with helium leaks and thruster issues forced them to remain on the station.
Starliner will return uncrewed
You can do it upside down.
While many refer to the pair as being stuck or stranded, Williams and Wilmore don't see it that way.
We had a plan, right? The plan went way off for what we had planned as we pivoted to this other preparation, and that is what makes human spaceflight, your human spaceflight program, special.
They joined the space station crew, working on experiments and conducting a spacewalk. The pair spent Thanksgiving and Christmas on the ISS.
It was pretty awesome to have the holidays up there.
As for who is responsible for the bungled Boeing flight, Wilmore, as commander, says he too is to blame.
I could ask some questions, and the answers to those questions could have turned the tide. We all are responsible. We all own this.
Still, they're willing to fly in Starliner again.
We're going to rectify all the issues that we encountered. Boeing's completely committed. NASA is completely committed. And with that, I get on in a heartbeat.
For now, Williams and Wilmore will continue adjusting to Earth's gravity as they prepare for their next mission, helping new astronauts. Nicole Mortellero, CBC News, Toronto.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. Tonight, let's dive into the contest to determine the next federal government. Throughout this consequential election campaign, we're visiting communities across this country, hearing from voters about what matters most to them.
Talking about safety is the main issue.
The response to the guy down south.
Jobs.
Tonight, we're in Brampton, Ontario, a suburban city nestled in the Greater Toronto Area. As one of Canada's fastest growing and most diverse cities, it is a key target for the parties and a great place to tap into this, the second week of the campaign. So let's get to it. David Common, host of CBC Radio's Metro Morning here in the GTA, spoke to residents, workers, and business owners about what is driving their decision.
So they call that a special high-grade zinc. It's primarily sourced from Canada, from BC and Montreal area.
And there it is.
Yes, that's it.
If you drive a car, wear makeup, put on sunscreen or diaper cream, there's a pretty good chance some part of it came from right here. Zochem makes zinc oxide, one of the only places in Canada to do so.
The zinc is melted, evaporated, exposed to air, and converts to zinc oxide.
And like so much else here in Brampton, a major manufacturing, auto assembly, and trucking hub, the U.S. market is key, and that makes tariffs terrifying.
In the furnace, it's 1260 degrees Celsius.
Well, these are hot political times, and it's hot in here as well. There's open talk across Ontario's fastest growing and third largest city about layoffs, which would only exacerbate the affordability challenges so many already face.
Basic things of life, food, shelter.
I do own a home, but it's not affordable. I lost my job, right?
Every time I go to the grocery store, it goes up and up, yeah. My rent goes up, everything's tough.
The cost of living remains a key issue in Brampton, a city which has seen a 145% increase in the price of a home in less than a decade. Increasingly, people can't afford to live here.
They're still commuting to jobs in Brampton, the GTA, and now all of a sudden a job in Brampton becomes less attractive to a qualified candidate who's living an hour or 2 hours away. And not to mention, it contributes to the congestion crisis as well. Affordable housing.
Vijay Singh is manager of policy and government relations at Brampton's Board of Trade. He wants to hear politicians in this campaign offering solutions to build more houses for less and strengthen Brampton's public transit. He knows the parties are listening too, because Brampton is in the politically critical suburbs around Toronto, key for either a Conservative or Liberal victory. I look at this community and it fascinates me because Brampton, when the provincial election, which just happened, it went, every single riding, entirely Conservative. But federally, it had been held entirely by the Liberals.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that you have that going on, what does the dynamic reveal to you about this community?
Well, I think there's a level of pragmatism that supersedes ideology in this community. I think we're responsive to governments that frankly prioritize Brampton needs.
Back at Zochem, which has significantly reduced its carbon emissions through investments in equipment, one of the needs is actually getting rid of a government policy.
I'm not a fan of the industrial carbon tax.
Mohit Sharma is president and CEO, overseeing this operation and one in Tennessee.
The Liberals under Mark Carney have said the consumer carbon tax gone, but they appear to be keeping the industrial carbon tax, the one that affects you. The Conservatives have said they'd get rid of that too.
Correct.
Would that issue decide the election for you?
For me, that would be a prominent point, because if there's an industrial carbon tax, that is a cost, and if you're going to pass that on, that's still built into a cost that the end user has to pay. Why not remove that? And we can move forward.
Now, someone would come back and say, okay, from a policy perspective, what is trying to be achieved by the industrial carbon tax is to make polluters pay for the pollution they're creating.
Correct.
And that would incentivize polluters to change their behavior.
Correct.
What do you say to that?
I say what happens is people invest elsewhere where they are not charged for that pollution.
80% of what Zochem makes here is sold into the U.S., but Sharma says add more tariffs to that domestic tax and his product gets more expensive than zinc oxide made outside of Canada. More than half of Brampton's people were born outside the country, very diverse and with a large Indo-Canadian population. A community also impacted by affordability.
At the Gurdwara, we have a langar program where there's free meals being served from morning to night, and that number of individuals has gone up quite a bit. So we do know people are struggling. It's really difficult.
Gurnishan Singh is a rental housing developer and volunteer at the Shri Guru Nanak Sikh Center.
We are politically active. We are not like a monolith in the sense that we all sort of go one way or another together. The last, I would say, 1 to 2 years was sort of the first time, especially in Brampton, where we did see some excitement sort of coming out about the Conservative Party as well. People started looking to a different side, and I think the community has stayed Liberal for a long time. I think switching that is going to be challenging.
That too continues to shift around. Beyond worries about jobs and affordability, he tells us many Sikhs are worried about foreign interference.
I think a lot of individuals, because in the community in the past, they've gotten calls to sort of either participate in a certain way or don't participate in political activities at all and this and that, especially from like the Indian consulate or their proxies in the community.
Such proxies, Canada's Foreign Interference Commission found, have tried to secure the election of pro-India candidates in Canada's parliament. When people in this community get pressure calls, Singh says it's not clear who they're supposed to call.
In terms of information or accountability or holding people to account on the Canadian side, we haven't really seen that. So people do feel like that, hey, they can sort of report things, but will anything be done about it? That certainty is not there.
It all shows that while every region in this country has its own specific worries and priorities, there are core issues which unite. Now, as political parties try to position themselves as the best fit to respond.
So, David, all the major party leaders have already visited the GTA, right? This ring around Toronto itself. Walk us through the thinking there.
Sheer number of seats. There's a lot of them here at play, more than Manitoba and Saskatchewan combined. That's irksome to a lot of other parts of the country, admittedly, but it is the case. And so when you look at those ridings around in the GTA, there are ones that have already more or less locked in for one particular party, but there are others that it's very close. And that's why you're seeing the party leaders targeting those ridings in the hopes that they'll either hold them or be able to flip them on election day.
Okay, David Conlon, thank you.
Thank you.
As the parties jostle for their votes with promises and proposals, we asked people here if they'd answer some questions. Well, one question in particular tucked inside the national envelope.
Hi, I'm just gonna take this seat right here. We're from CBC.
Hi, CBC.
And we have a question for you in this envelope. One question, here, it's in this envelope.
Oh, I have to open it? Really?
Yeah, do you want me to hold your Tim's? There you go.
Oh, what do you want the next Prime Minister to know about your life right now? Ooh.
I honestly don't know what to say. What do I want him to know about my life? Gee whiz, we're all broke, I guess.
My life right now? It's pretty good.
My life is okay, but I know a lot of people around me's lives are not okay, particularly lower middle class to working class.
The cost of living, I don't know. Everything's really expensive, it seems.
Yeah, I can't afford to live. I'm gonna lose my goddamn house.
in 10 years. I went from living a good middle-class life, enjoying my life, to I'm not even paycheck to paycheck anymore. I am so far in debt, borrowing money to try to stay afloat. I don't know, can I get 2 jobs?
Right now, it's really not easy. It's people on top of people on top of people, you know, and it's choked. Like job opportunity-wise, everything.
Half of the companies I'm applying to, I'm qualified for them, but just because I'm an international student, I can only work part-time, so I'm not allowed to apply it there.
The main problem right now is the immigration. It's too much. Even the Canadians are not getting the job. So one day my kid is a Canadian, she's born here. So what will happen to her?
I feel like life in Canada is going to get harder, especially with this whole US-Canada war that's going on, this economic war.
I'd like them to know that I don't want to be American. And that I like being Canadian.
I would like them to know that I'm scared. I'm worried about our country, but also hopeful.
We are back with more from Brampton in a moment, including a closer look at polling and what the numbers say about the race here in the GTA. We're in Brampton, Ontario tonight, exactly 4 weeks from Election Day. And we're looking at our CBC News poll tracker, which aggregates major national polls. It's the daily snapshot of polling percentages and seat projections. So here's a look at that full snapshot right now. And at the top, the Liberals at 42%, up 4.3 percentage points from last week. The Conservatives at 37.5%. That's up half a percentage point from last week. Now, in terms of seat projection, if the vote was held today, the tracker estimates possible results given those numbers. So let's check it out. The Liberals could win 197 seats. The Conservatives could win 123 seats. A majority government requires at least 172. Eric Grenier is the man behind the poll tracker. Philippe Fournier is also a poll analyst. So Eric, let's start with the Conservatives. Those numbers are actually pretty good, like 37% at any other time would be a good showing, and I'm presuming enough to win, arguably.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, every time that the Conservative Party or its PC predecessor has reached 37% of support in an election, they've won that election. You have to go back to the 1920s to find a case where this level of support wasn't enough for the Conservatives to win. And I think that gives us a little bit of an indication of how different the situation is currently. That while where the Conservatives are right now would normally be enough to win an election, the NDP's number is so low, the Bloc number has gone down, and a lot of that vote has gone to the Liberals, pushing them up to a level that we haven't seen from the Liberals since the 1980s.
Philippe, can we talk about the spike in the polls for the Liberals? If a surge can happen that quickly, presumably support can drop just as fast.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt that right now, this new support for the Liberals is very soft. This comes from voters that were ready to throw their vote to another party. And I mean, any other party a few months ago, the Conservatives, the Bloc, the NDP. And so this new support right now is holding together. The Liberals had a very good first week in the polls. But to anyone who thinks this is over, I have news for you. We have still 4 weeks to go, and any blunder or any major event could still move those numbers.
Any indication that maybe Carney's support is solidifying or not?
Well, if we look at the other indicators than just voting intentions, of course, we see also regional numbers are very good for the Liberals. But in every poll that we have seen in the past week, Mr. Carney has outpolled Mr. Poilievre in preferred PM, for instance. And so right now, with the issues with south of the border, with Mr. Trump, also is a high issue in which the Liberals are polling very well. So all these indicators right now tend to lean towards the Liberals. It's just, I'm not ready to make a call just yet.
Mm-hmm. Of course not. Eric, so we're here in Brampton, right? This is a suburb in the Greater Toronto area. Both leaders have been around the GTA. Poilievre has been here in Brampton in particular. Can you put some perspective on the importance of the GTA here?
Yeah, I suspect that we'll see the leaders in the GTA multiple times during this campaign. It is really where elections are won and lost in Canada. It was absolutely key to all three of the last victories for Justin Trudeau's Liberals. And if Mark Carney's Liberals are going to win this election, it will be because of huge seats gained, well, not gains, but holds, because they already hold most of them, in the GTA. For Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, without a big a breakthrough in the GTA, particularly in Brampton, Mississauga, there really isn't any path for the Conservatives to win an election. Stephen Harper in 2011 was able to win a majority government in part because a lot of the GTA went blue in that election. And if it stays red this time, Mark Carney's going to stay as Prime Minister.
Okay, Philippe, you have some specific numbers on the GTA, right? Can you take us through what you're seeing?
That's right. So we have to be careful because these are projections, but they are based on a lot of polls that we have seen in the past week. And right now in the GTA, those 32 ridings that surround Toronto, I have the Liberals leading by 14 points. This is, of course, an average. There's a certain uncertainty in there. But look at that NDP number again. The NDP usually doesn't do well in the GTA, but it never does that badly for 6%. So 52% for the Liberals, 38% for the Conservatives. And this, with these numbers, I have the Liberals leading in 27 of 32 seats in the GTA. We repeat, considering the Conservatives do not look like they're making any gains in Atlantic Canada, maybe just a handful in Quebec. Without those eastern potential seats, they have to do better in the GTA to be able to at least win a strong minority.
And Eric, one last thought to you. CBC News reported over the weekend that Conservative sources, have been expressing concern that the party is in disarray over its messaging. Is there any indication in the numbers that Poilievre could grow his support by pivoting, maybe concentrating more on Trump?
Well, I think it does raise a question of whether they do need to make a change, because we do not see that the numbers are moving in Pierre Poilievre's favor. His own personal numbers, as Philippe mentioned, have been going down. When we do see polling that asks Canadians about what are the top issues, Donald Trump and the tariffs are always one of the top ones. But the problems for the Conservatives is that Mark Carney is favored over Pierre Poilievre on that issue by huge margins. So it's not a winning issue for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, but they need to get back into this race in some way. And considering that is the thing everybody's talking about, and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about it this week, Pierre Poilievre has to get into that conversation to have a chance here.
All right, Eric, Philippe, thank you as always for your insights. See you soon.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Adrienne.
As we take the national conversation across the country, we're bringing together groups of voters to talk about their priorities. Here's a sneak preview of what we heard here in Brampton, Ontario. So there's been this surge of immigration. Has that caught anybody off guard?
Brampton is bursting to its seams, like everybody is coming to Brampton, and they should place those people where the need is.
As a business owner in downtown Brampton, I can receive at least 9 to 10 young people knocking the doors for work opportunities. So when you see this increment every single day, it's telling you that your city needs something. And something has to be done.
I don't know why everyone's coming to Ontario or to Brampton where I live. There's a housing crisis. No, that's a government crisis. You're putting all the people in one area. Spread it out.
Watch for that tomorrow night. But up next, a Toronto Raptor comes up clutch with a big assist.
At literal random act of kindness, it was enough to sort of be able to deliver paying it to our landlord.
How Scottie Barnes helped a school that specializes in programs for children with autism. That's next in our moment. So you are looking at Raptors star Scottie Barnes. He's averaged 5 assists per game throughout his career, but one of his biggest assists may have come off the court and earlier this week. So when Barnes saw a Brampton school serving children with autism was in major financial trouble, he stepped in to help, and his generosity is our moment.
At literal random act of kindness, unbelievable and surreal. We are a Montessori school for children with autism spectrum disorder, but it's an expensive program to run. Our kids with autism, some of them do require one-to-one care. It's a lot, and we found ourselves in a financial hole. So we started a GoFundMe, and on March 20th, we had 11 days remaining, 32 families getting very anxious, and I got a phone call from Scottie Barnes' management team. A literal miracle. It was enough to sort of be able to deliver paying it to our landlords. I felt everything. huge in that moment. I overwhelmingly grateful that I get to say see you tomorrow. And that relief is felt by all the parents as well. But yet, from the bottom of my heart, thank you to the entire community, everyone that donated $10, $100, $500. And Scottie Barnes, thanks for the assist.
Okay, a good Brampton moment. And listen, Josette said she was always a bit of a Raptors star. She's a huge Raptors fan right now. And today, interestingly enough, would have been the day that she would have had to hand over the keys were it not for Scottie Barnes. So thank you for being with us. We'll be back here again in Brampton tomorrow night. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.